Hi everyone, it's Webby and welcome back to another video. Today I'm really excited to bring you the brand new 2021 Mazda MX30 courtesy of Berwick Mazda. So huge thanks to those guys for lending me the car for the review for the weekend. I'm going to talk you through a bit about the specifications and features of the car as well as going for a drive. So sit tight, enjoy a cup of tea and join me for the video. So in terms of models, there's actually 3 trim levels in the range: the Evolve, the Touring and the Estina. The Evolve starts at 33,990 plus on roads, the Touring is 36,490 plus on road costs, and the Estina is 40,990 plus on road costs. Standard equipment is really good even in the base model. You get things like a head-up display, LED headlights, satellite navigation with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and you're covered really well on the safety front as well. Autonomous braking, rear parking sensors, rear camera, adaptive cruise control, blind spot monitoring, cross traffic alert. So all the safety stuff is there even in this base model. So at 33,990 plus on roads, it represents really good value for money. The model that I'm reviewing today is the Touring mid-range model. Over and above the standard model, it gains electric seats with 2-position memory, keyless entry, auto folding door mirrors and part leather interior, more of which I'll show you in a minute as we go inside. We'll talk a little bit more about specifications when we go inside. So next, let's have a look at the engine. So there's only one engine option currently available for the MX30, which is a mild hybrid system. It consists of a 2-litre 4-cylinder petrol engine with a 24-volt lithium-ion battery. That basically gives 114 kilowatt and 200 newton meters of torque and is driven through the front wheels through a 6-speed automatic gearbox. The fuel economy is rated at 6.4 litres per 100 kilometres, so it's not quite like you might find in a Toyota hybrid, but still not too bad nonetheless. So starting with the exterior styling, and you can see this is a little bit different from something like a CX-5, which is a little bit squarer in its design. If we look at the front of the vehicle, you can see this new design language from Mazda, where it's almost got like a floating grille at the front, but it's actually quite attractive. The rest of the body has got a sort of coupe style look to it, rather than the sort of squarer edgy design of something like a CX-5 or something similar to that. Looking at the Mazda MX30 from the side, and immediately you can tell that this is something a little bit different than your average SUV. It starts off fairly traditionally at the front, but as you go towards the back of the car, you can see the roofline swoops down more like a coupe. And that's because we've got what Mazda call freestyle doors. So rather than the rear doors opening traditionally like a normal car, they actually open the opposite way, which actually help you get in the car a little bit easier, which I'll show you now. So your front doors are traditional, open like every other car. And then you've got this handle here where you open the rear door to actually make getting in and out the back of the car quite an easy experience. Now the only thing you do have to be careful of is hitting your head on this hinge here where the door locks to. You'd only probably do that once or twice I reckon, and you'd soon get used to that being there. So there's a little bit of a technique of getting in the back. Let me show you. You're kind of going backwards. So there you go, I'm in. In terms of space back here, it's not too bad. I'm only 5'6", so sitting behind my driving position isn't too bad. Headroom isn't too bad for me either, I've got a couple of inches, but if you were 6 foot tall, you might be a bit cramped here in the back. Legroom is also fine, and you can actually fit your feet under the driver's seat, so you can stretch your legs out on a longer journey. Unfortunately, there's no rear air vents back here, and there's no charging points to plug your phone or your iPad in either, so the rear seat passengers miss out a little bit. One useful feature I have found in the back of the MX30 is on the driver's seat there's a couple of buttons which allow you to move the seat away to allow easier exit of the vehicle. So we can just press the button, one of them will tilt the back of the front seat, and then the other one slides it forward for you, making it much easier to get out. So stepping inside the MX30, and you can see where most of the money has gone in developing this car. All the materials they've used are really high quality. You've got a beautiful leather wrapped steering wheel, and some of them are even recycled, like the trims on the tops of the doors. But it doesn't feel cheap, it actually feels quite premium. So the way Mazda have done the interior is really impressive. And just this light interior makes the cabin feel nice and light and airy as well, despite having a black headlining. Here we see what they call the floating centre console, and you've got a bit of storage under there as well, plus also a couple of USB charging points to plug your phone in. And it's actually nice because it means that you haven't got cables floating around the front of the dashboard, so you can basically just keep your phone down there and charge it while you're driving. You also get some nice features like this cork matting, which harks back to the days when Mazda were actually cork manufacturers before they started making cars. These flaps here lift up to reveal a couple of cup holders, so when you're not using them you can actually lay the flaps down, and it's also like a bit of a tray. In front of the driver we've got this nicely laid out instrument cluster. It's really clear and easy to use, with the rev counter being on the left, the speedo in the middle, and then your temperature and fuel gauges being over on the right. So it's not too cluttered, unlike some of the cars on the market. Coming back, looking at the steering wheel controls, over on the left hand side is your audio and phone controls, and then as we move over to the right, that's things like your adaptive cruise control and lane keeping aid. So it's nice and clear and simple. We then move over to the 8.8-inch infotainment screen on top of the dashboard. So this is where you find your built-in satellite navigation, phone, radio, and then when you plug your phone in, things like Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Coming down further down the centre console, we find the 7-inch touchscreen display for the climate control system. Again, this is really easy to use, nice and easy. You don't have to take your eyes off the road too much when you're driving, which is quite handy. Coming further back, we've got the rotary control for Mazda's MZD Connect system. This is a little bit like the BMW iDrive and controls the infotainment system. And the reason you need that is because the infotainment screen isn't touchscreen, which does take a little bit of getting used to, particularly if you're using things like Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. So now we've had a bit of a look around the car, we actually need to see what it's like on the open road. So we'll take it for a drive and see how it goes. The first thing you do notice in here is how quiet it is. They've obviously put some really good sound insulation in here, because the only thing you can actually hear is the odd bit of tyre noise, depending on obviously the road surface that you're on. Another thing that's immediately obvious when you start driving is how well weighted the power steering system is. A lot of electric systems nowadays seem overly light and you don't really know what's going on with the front wheels. Whereas on this Mazda MX30, there's plenty of feel and you know exactly what's happening. Visibility is generally quite good, particularly out the front and the driver's side window. But there is quite a blind spot depending on where you've got your front seat with this side pillar here. Now in terms of performance, this 2-litre engine with its 114 kilowatt isn't going to win you any races away from the traffic lights. But it's up to the job of making fairly good progress around town, if that's what you're looking for. I have to say this interior does feel really nice. I've driven other cars around the same sort of money as this car, but you'd have to say the materials that Mazda have used on this MX30 are really nice. You definitely justify the price that you're paying for a vehicle like this. This particular example that I'm driving is the Touring. It's also got the optional visibility pack as well, so that gives you things like front parking sensors with a cross traffic alert. You get 360 degree cameras as well, which is actually quite nice to have, and also things like the adaptive cruise control. So as I mentioned earlier, fuel economy is rated at 6.4 litres per 100. I'm currently sitting on 7.9. Albeit most of my driving has been just sort of to and fro around the town, nothing really on the freeway. So it'll be interesting to see sort of what the average is if you sort of drove this on the freeway as well. I mean 7.9 isn't too bad, but you know it's not setting the world alight in terms of you know, fantastic fuel economy figures. As most cars nowadays, it comes with a 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty. Servicing though is every 12 months or 10,000 Ks. And to me that seems a bit strange, because most people would do more than 10,000 Ks a year, unless you were literally just doing short journeys around town all the time and you weren't going very far. So you'd probably end up servicing your car 1 to 2 times a year depending on your mileage. The first 5 services cost around $2,000, which is a little bit on the high side, but not too bad compared to some other sort of manufacturers out there. feels very comfortable when you're driving. These seats are really supportive, and the driving position ahead of you is nice and direct. You haven't got any sort of offset with the steering wheel. Yeah, it's just a nice, comfortable driving position. Now, there is a fully electric version of this car coming later on, but it's only available in the top range as seen a specification. And that electric version is $25,000 more than this hybrid version, which to me sounds an awful lot of money. But I think that's the way electric cars are going nowadays. I had a bit of a look around to see what other comparable cars would cost. And things like the Hyundai Kona EV Highlander are very similar money. So it's not that Mazda are charging you more, it's just that's what electric cars are costing at the minute. For that early sort of $70,000, you can get yourself into a base model Tesla 3 as well. And the range on that car is much better than this MX30 when you're looking at the electric version. The plus point to the MX30 though is it does look and feel like a conventional car, whereas the Tesla is obviously a little bit sort of futuristic, and the looks are obviously a little bit subjective, so not everybody might like the looks of the Tesla Model 3. Going around corners, there's not too much roll either. It sits fairly flat and handles really well, which is quite nice. So I guess the question is, what sort of person would buy this MX30? Maybe just someone who wants something a little bit different, doesn't necessarily carry rear passengers very often, or too much luggage in the boot, but just wants something, yeah, a little bit sort of quirky, a bit funky, but still have the sort of Mazda build quality and sort of semi-premium feel about it. It is a nice car, but it is sort of quite niche and quirky. You know, you'd sort of have a look at this, you'd have a look at a CX-5, you know, other manufacturers, Toyota, Hyundai, Kia, Volkswagen. There's plenty of choice out there. But yeah, it's definitely for someone who wants something a little bit out of the ordinary. So that brings us to an end of my first look at the 2021 Mazda MX30. A big thanks to the guys down at Berwick Mazda for lending me the car for the review. If you want their contact details, I'll put them in the description below so you can get in contact with them if you're looking for a new or a used Mazda. I quite enjoy my time with this quirky little SUV, but I don't know whether you'd choose this or something more traditional like a CX-5. As always, if you've got any questions on this car, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below for me, and I'll come back to you as soon as I can. If you've enjoyed the video, please give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell to find out when the next new car review goes live. As ever, thanks very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next one.